Hey everybody, it's the Raven Knight here, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to the very first video on this site where I will be grading brand new executions. Now, why do I say that? Well, true story, guys. When I first started this YouTube For Honor thing, I never really got the chance to grade brand new executions. I just graded executions that already existed. When the second season of For Honor Tyranny came out, I was super excited because until that point, they released new executions every new season. So I thought, oh right, this is going to be my first opportunity to actually grade new executions that just came out and give them official grades. But I was very disappointed because that was when they started doing their universal executions. Yeah, it took all the way from back then for them to finally bring unique executions back. And I was very disappointed because I thought I'm never going to be able to really grade brand new unique executions. So when I heard that they were back, when I got to see brand new executions return, new unique executions for each and individual hero, I was super excited, I was super happy, and now I finally get to sit down and grade them all. I was with my brother last night, we walked through all of them, we even pantomimed a few to test their realism, whether or not they would actually work. We even, I kid you not, we even discussed it from a medical standpoint, like whether or not this could even kill. We had a lot of fun going over this, so we're really excited to bring this to you. So let's not waste any more time and get right into the good stuff. You ready? I'm so excited. Let's grade some executions. So first up, for the Warden, we have Manus Manum Secat. Very nice. Okay. So we have a struggle fest here, and I actually like struggling. I love when the opponent struggles because it shows that they are aware they're in a battlefield scenario, they're aware that they need to fight for their lives, so they're actually putting up a resistance, they're not just standing there and taking it. I respect that. Now, here's where things get a little weird. When they wrestle over the sword, Ruth here yanks her sword out of his hands, and it cuts the hands. Now that's fine, until he drops to his knees and just kind of stares at them. Look, I've been cut across the hands too. My knives as well. Like, it's not pleasant, but you don't fall to your knees and stare at them in shock. Now, if his hands had been cut off, if he had lost his hands, Count Dooku style, I'd get it. Because that's what this reminds me of, the Count Dooku moment in Revenge of the Sith. But I don't know why he just drops to his knees there. I get it, you're in shock, you're surprised, but you're also a warrior. You need to be used to cuts. And then Ruth takes off his head, which is fine. I actually could believe this decapitation a little bit, because that longsword had a good wind-up, and it went through very cleanly, so I will believe that. But for the silliness of his just shock reaction to, oh, my hands got cut, I'll never play the piano again, it's like, nah. So this is an 8 out of 10 for me. I like the execution, I like the struggle, the decapitation actually works for me. It's just his silly response to, oh no, I cut my hands. Well, I mean, you're grabbing a sword, dude. Odds are pretty good that's gonna happen. Still really cool, though. I actually do like it, and considering it's the first of the unique executions, I can't be mad at it. In fact, I was never mad at it. I still love it. It's just, really analyzing it, you find these small things. Moving on. Next up, we have Peacekeeper with Mobilitate Vigite. Oh, that is excellent. One thing that I always like about Peacekeeper is her dodges. She opens up with a dodge here, ducking a wild punch, puts her dagger into his back, and then what a lot of people miss, I think, when they see this execution is what she does next. She doesn't stab right away. Watch carefully. She hits him in the side of the head first. I like this. It will daze the opponent, shock them a little bit, and keep them still long enough for her to do her final blow.
Discombobulate.
Then steps back around, pirouettes, and then shoves her blade into his throat. Now, watch what she does with the blade. She doesn't just yank it out. She twists the blade, which I really, really like. That adds extra damage inside the body. It causes more severing, more lacerations. It also opens up the throat even more, so that even if you do manage to get it to a doctor, it will be even harder to fix up. And what I also like is it's a little hard to see, but let's look at it from another perspective. she does not pull it straight out like you would expect from a stab. She slashes it out. She pulls it out from the side of the neck. She is ensuring that there is no possible way this Warden will get healed. There is no possible way that he will survive this. Not only did she pierce right through his throat, she has cut out the side of the neck. He's dead. This Warden is dead. It was an excellent execution, flawlessly done, fits Peacekeeper's personality. This is a 10 out of 10. This is an excellent execution. I love it. It is one of my favorites. I will be getting this one. Well done, Peacekeeper. Next up, we have Conqueror with Chiferi Nonerat. Okay. Well, gotta be a little critical here. So first of all, I think it's a cool execution. The idea of flipping someone with the flail isn't a bad idea, but a few problems in execution. Let's start with the positives here. I like the initial blow to the knee that he starts with. Good way to knock them off balance. And then I like that when he flips, he uses the back of his leg as leverage to flip them better. So it's believable. But then there's two things that bother me. We'll get to this kick in a minute, but let's talk about the first part. When he wraps the flail around the neck, notice how much of the flail wraps around. It's not a lot. In fact, the ball is just kind of resting underneath his chin. Once he tries to flip him, the flail is just going to undo itself. It's just going to yank itself out from around his neck because there's no torque, there's no tightness, there's no locking the flail in place to do the flip. So there's not enough torque to do the flip here. And then that kick, he kicks the head like a soccer ball. And not only does he kick it, it comes off. Look, the kick itself is fine. I have no problem with him kicking him in the head. That's something very much what Conqueror would do. But the fact that it came off, the fact that he actually got the head off. You know, some people try to argue to me, you know, this person's head could have come off during the initial battle because they were being hit in the head by blades the whole fight. So it makes sense that their head would come off. Even if I bought that as an excuse, which I don't, there is no excuse like that here. He just kicks the head and it goes flying. I'm sorry, the human head is not attached to the neck by duct tape. It should not be that easy to come off. But I will be a little lenient because this is obviously meant to be silly. Listen closely after he kicks the head. You can hear like a whistle, like it's a soccer field. This execution was obviously meant to be more of a silly nature. However, I think the problem I have is it's not funny. I don't find it funny. It's not one of these funny, goofy executions like the "Oh Come On" one from Lawbringer. It started off so badass, so cool. The idea of flipping an opponent with your flail and then just boop and then whistle. So I'm sorry. Me and my brother discussed it. We both agreed. This one is a 5 out of 10. It's not great, but it's not the worst one either. Next is Lawbringer with Tene Kursum. Oh, fantastic. Look at that. Face your heresy! Okay, so the strike to the face starts us off, followed by a strike to the leg. Excellent way to throw your opponent off balance and set them up for the next blow. But that's not what gets me. It's how he winds up to the final strike. His body spins around following the momentum of his axe. This isn't a forced spin. He did it to follow the momentum and direction of his axe so that he added force to it. Now here's the other part that I love. Look at when he hits the Warden. This is amazing. Look down at the Warden. He held up his hands to try to block the axe, preventing it from going through his neck. But the amazing thing is, it could have gone through his neck regardless. The amount of force the Lawbringer was bringing down with that pole axe should have gone right through his fingers and through his neck. This would have been a decapitating blow, but it wasn't. The Warden's head is intact. Which just makes it more interesting how this blow that should have decapitated didn't. And yet we have much easier blows that are done that decapitate far easier that shouldn't. This execution is so good, it makes other executions look worse by comparison. This is a 10 out of 10. The Lawbringer brings his A game to this. 2 solid debilitating strikes, and then 1 strike that, while it could have decapitated, did not. It was believable why it did not, and it actually makes other executions look worse because they decapitated with far less, while his is far more, and still comes out in a believable outcome. This was excellent. I love it. I absolutely love it. Next up, Centurion with Gladius in Jugulum. Yes! Yes! I love this one. I think it's really cool. Watch the initial strike. I like, again, he blocked. He grabs the Gladius to prevent it from striking him. But then watch how the Centurion responds to that. Watch how he puts it in. He doesn't just twist it. Watch what he does. He knees it. He knees the handle so that it goes into his head and then backhands the handle deeper. Oh, that's so good. Just strike, block, knee it in, backhand, slowly pulls it out. This is great. There's just one problem with it. Look where the Gladius inserts. Now, considering the thickness of the blade and the width, he's severing the spinal column. He's severing the vertebra in the neck. This means that there's no more connection between the brain and the rest of the body. He should not still be standing. As soon as that happened, his whole body should have crumpled. Even if he didn't die right away, which he should have, his whole body is crumbling. He should not even be able to lift his hands to that handle and go, He should not even be able to do that. He should just collapse like a sack of potatoes. Because now the spine is severed. There's no electrical signals from the brain going to the rest of the body. He should just collapse. But that's the only thing I have to say bad about this execution. Everything else is perfect. I love it. I love how smooth it is. I love how forceful it is. I love the use of his knee to put the Gladius in. It's awesome. It's so sick. I have to give it a 9 out of 10. It is phenomenal. Well done, Centurion. Well done, Ubisoft, for putting this one together. And I like the name, too, Gladius in Jugulum. It's Gladius in your jugular. But to be fair, he's piercing a lot more than the jugular. Very good. Next up, we have the Gladiator with Carpe Ventrium. Alright, let's talk about this one. So first a bash of the head, little taunt from the Glad, then shoves it in, then lifts up, kind of praises themselves for doing it, like, you know, shouting to the crowd if there is one, and then kind of just kicking the shaft out from under him to drop him. Alright, let's talk about this. So, it very much fits Gladiator's style. This is very much the kind of thing Gladiator would do, but there are a few problems. First of all, the punch is fine, the taunt is fine, stabbing is fine, but a one-handed lift. Okay, with the Warden you might not see it, but now pretend Shugoki's on the other end of that trident. Yeah, you're not doing that one-handed. I'm sorry. You would need both hands to do it. Secondly, assuming the shaft is made of wood, that trident might snap under all that weight. You would really need both hands spread out along the shaft to make sure you could lift them. And then there's another problem, and it is kind of serious to point out. Considering the placement of the Gladius prongs, and considering what she's doing, this would not be an instant kill. The Gladius isn't, the Trident isn't inserting itself anywhere that would be immediately lethal. We see that as soon as she spears him, he's writhing, he's moving, he's trying to get off of it, but then he just kind of goes limp and dies. It's not how that works. You could argue that he passed out from loss of blood. That could be believable. But he's not dead. This is not an instant kill. It would kill. This would probably be a long, painful death. But he's not dead yet. This is a slow kill. And he might have passed out from the loss of blood, but If he gets to a doctor quick enough, he could make it. So I have to give this one a 7 out of 10. It fits Gladiator's personality. It is cool, and it would kill, but not instantly. Yeah, but it just, the bravado off of Gladiator fits so well. I love it. I love that little nod to at the very end. Just that kind of, yeah, you saw that. Kind of this taunting sort of, who's next, you know? Gotta love Glad. Well, as much as one can love Glad. Next up, Black Prior with Mala Uduke Glad. Okay. Strike across the chest. Flip out with the shield to flip the opponent onto the ground by knocking out their foot. Very good use of the shield. And then a one-armed decapitation. Okay. I would buy this more if that first sword slash hit the neck. But it doesn't. It hits the torso. Let's change the perspective a little, see if we can't get a better look at it. Yeah, see, it goes across the chest. It's not hitting the head. Okay, so this one's going to have to get an 8 out of 10 for me. Everything up to the decapitation is good, but the decapitation is just a little too easy. She did it without much effort. It was a very easy slash. It's just... Again, I know that some people get on me for this by saying, why are you so hard on decapitations? I'm not. You'll see in a little bit that I actually really like decapitations. But when they make sense and when there's actual force behind it. This one just felt almost like a... sort of a backhanded strike, and I don't think that would decapitate. Strike open the neck? Sure. Cut across the face? Yeah. Take the whole head clean off? No. You need more than a one-handed strike. But other than that, very cool, great use of the shield. Black Prior, you're coming at it with an 8 out of 10. That looked really good. Next, Warmonger with Obliteration.
You will learn respect, and suffering will be your teacher.
That's brutal. Okay. So I really like that she impales him using both hands. Unlike earlier with Gladiator, we see that she's actually putting a lot of force into this impalement. And it shows because the sword goes very deep. Then comes around to the back and slams the blade down, which jerks the blade into a twist so that it changes angles. Watch carefully. It is at this point that the Warden is dead. Consider where the blade has been inserted and where it just slashed upward. It is cutting open internal organs. It is on the side of the body where the liver is, where the intestines are, where a lung is. She's now killed him 4 times over. He's done. He is lying there, drowning in his own blood. The man or woman, whoever it is dead. Everything after this is just showing off. I got to give this one a 9 out of 10. The only reason it doesn't get a perfect score from me is just because all of the stuff after that initial strike is a little unnecessary. But it's still so cool. It fits Warmonger very well. She's very much the kind of warrior who wants to drag out a death to make you suffer. But it is very, very nice. I think the other problem I have with it is it reminds me so much of another execution she has. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called Preparation, where she flips them onto the ground and then impales them through the head and then yanks it out in a very similar manner. This feels like a combination of that execution and Highlander's execution. So because it looks so familiar to me, I don't want to give it too much of a good score because it feels like something I've seen before. But does it fit Warmonger? Absolutely. Is it brutal? Yes. Is it deadly? Oh, more than deadly. So I definitely like it. 9 out of 10. Great job, Warmommy. Definitely bringing your A game. And last of the knights, Gryphon with Verdict of Chimera. Oh, what can I say? This is glorious. A shaft strike to the side, blade into the other side, strikes the head to disorient and confuse, flips them with the weapon, and then fluidly swings it back around to stab into the throat. I love that he used this to stab, because that's a great use of the Bardiche. It's not just a cutter, it's a stabber. And look at how fluid that was. There was no pausing, there was no breaks. It was slam, slam, slam. All the way around, it was all fluid, it was all perfectly executed, and they are dead. He stabbed it right through the throat, right through the neck, right into the chest area, maybe partially into the face. This is amazing. Let's take a look from the other perspective. This is a 10 out of 10. This is perfect. This was a perfect execution. It's probably my favorite of Gryphons right now. It just looks so smooth, so well done. I'm sorry, it is fantastic. And it shows that even with the Bardiche, which is a beheader, this weapon can decapitate. You don't need to decapitate all the time to be deadly. This was just done so well. Fantastic work. I love it. Moving on to the Vikings, we have Raider up first with Cleaving Me Softly.
I believe I can fly.
Oh, beautiful. I always forget that last kick. Alright, so we have a strike to the head, a shot to the gut, a flying hit to the back. Note it didn't decapitate. And then a kick to the head, which didn't decapitate. Thank you for not decapitating all the time when it doesn't make sense to. I love this jumping strike. It looks so good. And then the kick, adding insult to injury. I love it. They were dead as soon as the axe hit the back, because again, you're severing the spine. They're just a pile of potatoes now. And look at how limp they just went. They're a pile of meat now. They're done. They're finished. And now you're just putting them on the ground. And there's absolutely nothing about this that doesn't make sense. Even the jump feels real. There's weight behind Raider when he jumps. It adds power to the final blow onto the back. And then the kick is just putting him down for the count. Believe it or not, this is a 10 out of 10. In my opinion, this is a flawless execution. Shows a lot of power, a lot of force, takes advantage of momentum and weight as well as speed, and then just a kick that just puts him down. You're done with him. 10 out of 10, Raider. This is amazing. I love it. Next, we have, for Berserker, Split Knot.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer? Every night.
Okay. Couple of problems. Firstly, the split here. Alright, now, the split itself does not bother me. It's what Warden does when he's put into the split. I've fallen into a split before. It's very uncomfortable, very painful, and it hurt. But you know what I did right after I hit the split? I started writhing on the ground in pain, hugging my legs and my crotch area from the agony of it, and struggling to breathe because the wind had been knocked out of me. Here he is, just sitting in that split, hugging his crotch, and just kind of shaking his head at the sky, going, no! It's not what you do when you're forced into a split like that. You roll out of the split. You try to get your body back into its proper contortion immediately. You don't just lay there like, oh no, there's no way I can get out of this. There's no way, like, and then just like, shaking his head at the sky. That's almost too much of a setup. He's clearly just doing it to set himself up, and it's a little too obvious. I don't mind a setup because, yeah, all of these executions initially are setups for the kill, but this one's just too obvious. Alright, so what else about it is bad? Because there is another thing. You can probably guess what it is. So she laughs at him, then plunges the axe into the side of the neck. But the axe doesn't go all the way through. It kind of stops halfway through, and then, let's look at it from this perspective. Yeah, the axe doesn't go all the way through, and then Berserker just kicks it off. That's still too easy of a decapitation. It doesn't work that way. If you really wanted it to be a good decapitation, just take the whole head off with that strike. I'd actually believe it. Put both your hands into that strike, and then you're done. But, no, this is honestly very weak. I'm going to have to go with a 5 out of 10 on this one. Again, it's not terrible. The concept is good. Putting them into an embarrassing or awkward situation and then finishing them off partway through isn't a bad idea. In fact, I like those kind of ideas. But the way the Warden acts in the split and the fact that she decapitates this easily, I'm sorry, not the best one. Next up is Warlord with Cumbered Bash.
Head on. Apply directly to the forehead.
Very good. All right, let's take a look at this. This part is the only part that kind of rubs me the wrong way. That flip was way too OP. It was way too powerful. Okay, so look very carefully at it. The Warden isn't charging at him, he's just kind of stumbling forward, and then the Warlord slams him with the shield, which causes him to do a complete flip through the air. One whole flip landing on their gut. If the Warden had been charging at him, I might have bought it more, but since he wasn't, that means that that entire flip was done from Warlord's own physical brute strength. A little much. But then puts the shield into his neck to hold him in place, and then stabs into his head. That is awesome. Let's look at it from another perspective. That is so good. What a way to finish him. That is unbelievably good. I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10. The flip annoys me, but it's nothing game-breaking. And then that final just spear to the head, instantly killing him. Shot to the brain. Fantastic. This is a good execution. Just what I want to see from Warlord. Next up, we have Valkyrie with Skewer Let On. Very cool. Reminds me of Vlad the Impaler, or Valk the Impaler as they call it. Okay, so inserts the spear, slams the shaft down onto the ground, and then lets them slide down. Okay. Just like with the Gladius one, the spear has punctured the spine. All connection between the head and the rest of the body is gone. Warden shouldn't even be able to grab that spear right now. He should just be sliding down it like a hunk of junk. You know, he shouldn't be able to do that. But, you know, minor nitpick. It's a minor issue, not a big deal. It looks savage. It's very effective, and I love the elbow to knock him down. I think my only issue with it, other than the spine thing, is it feels just like Valk's other execution, Valk the Impaler, which reminds me of it a little too much. But it's not bad. I actually will give it a 9 out of 10. It's effective. It's deadly. It's definitely stylish. It fits Valk's personality. It just reminds me of an old one. Still, very cool. Thank you, Valk, for this one. This looks really, really good. Next up, we have Highlander with High Cinder. Oh! Man, that's brutal. Okay, but let's really talk about it. So this is a nod to Highlander, to the Highland games, throwing the sword in the air and then okay. What to say about this? Well, it's cool, but the accuracy required to make that work is a little hard to buy. Would it kill? Oh, yes, definitely. A sword of that weight and size piercing right through your face. Yeah, you're done. You're history. You're over. But how did he hit them so accurately? Keep in mind that that kind of event in the Highland games is meant more for strength and distance. You're basically chucking a log into the air to show how high you can get it and how far it will go. This is not an accuracy one. Like, how did he get that so perfectly placed? I actually want to play with someone in Dominion and see them do this execution to see if the blade disappears during the execution when they throw it from a third person's perspective. I actually want to see what would happen there. But as for a grade, I will give this a 7 out of 10. It is very cool, very much fits Highlander, but the accuracy needed to make it work is questionable at best. I don't see this actually being a viable way to kill someone. I still want to see Highlander cleave someone in half lengthwise, okay? It's still savage, though. I'll never get over it. Next up, we have Shaman, or Nibbles as I call her, with Seen and Done Roll. Ooh, okay. Rolls, knocks them off balance, they start to get up, and then she turns around and hacks them across the face with her hatchet. Very cool. This would kill. This would definitely be deadly. I don't know. I guess it just didn't wow me like the others. The roll isn't necessary, but it is cool. It fits her. I don't know what it is. Something about this one just isn't... I think it's partially because it's not as wild as I expect from Shaman. Shaman's wild and crazy. She's a savage animal. This felt... You know what's funny? This felt more like something I might see from a Berserker or a Peacekeeper. This didn't feel like a Shaman. Shaman's the one who's going to bite your throat out like an animal. This felt smooth, graceful, and it's just not Shaman. It's still good. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. I'll give it an 8 out of 10 because there's nothing really wrong with it. It's deadly. It's effective. It works. I think it just doesn't quite fit Shaman. It's still cool. It's still great, though. I still like it, and it's kind of funny watching them roll like that. That's nice. Alrighty. And next, last for the Vikings, we have Jormungandr with Scaldi Crush. Oh, yes! This is one of my favorites thus far. It is amazing. Alright, so let's talk about it. So, jumping into the air and slamming the hammer down is exactly what I wanted to see as an execution from this kind of warrior. Knocking them back with a punch first to get them into position works even better. It works better than what Highlander did, because with Highlander, he's throwing his weapon into the air. Here, she's literally jumping up to slam down on him. It looks great. Now, is there anything wrong with it? Me and my brother actually had a debate about this one. From the way she's winding up her hammer, my brother said that she's winding it up the wrong way. If she really wanted to get the momentum going for the slam, she should be winding it up the other way. I argued she's winding it up this way because she's building up momentum for the jump, not the slam. So we couldn't quite agree on that. He wanted to give it an 8 out of 10. I wanted to give it a 10 out of 10. But considering that he does have a slight point in the direction of the momentum she wants to go, we'll meet in the middle and we'll say this is a 9 out of 10. Still, really, really cool. Excellent kill. Fits Jormungandr perfectly. And even though we have our disagreement about the way the momentum works for her slam, this is a good execution. Excellently done. Now we're moving on to the samurai, and we're starting with the Kensei with In no Atari. Oh, that's good. Okay, so blocks the punch, knees into the head. I like the fact that she used the hilt to hold the head in place for the knee strike. And then as they fall, turns and spears them with the Nodachi. Very, very good. This is actually legit Nodachi usage. Very well done. Way to finish them off. The insertion point is deadly. This is a 10 out of 10. Everything about this was expertly well done. This is just what I wanted to see from Kensei. This was great. Now, my brother wanted to take off a point because it's Kensei. And I was tempted. But I'm going to be fair. 10 out of 10, Kensei. You did very, very well. Next, we have Orochi with Ken no Sen. Alright, very, very cool. Let's talk about what we see. So, sheaths the sword and then stands in a very relaxed and no guard position, which I take some issue with. You shouldn't do that. I know you're smug, but that's a stupid decision in battle. So Warden throws a punch and blocks with their own punch. Then this weird kick. Look at the weird kick that Warden does, or that the opponent's meant to do. it's this very awkward, loopy kick, like something you'd see from Goofy. It doesn't look strong, it doesn't look thought out, it just looks kind of like, well, I'm gonna kick you. And you can't argue that he's just trying to take a step forward. He brought his leg back like he was trying to kick. But what was he hoping to hit? The leg was out of range. Again, this was too easy a setup, and it looked funny. But it allowed Orochi to kick it down with that axe kick, which was cool. Then Orochi does an EI slash and kills him. Now look very carefully at the Warden's head when she does this. This might surprise you. Notice the head didn't come off. This blow that normally they'd say, hey, that's a decapitation slash. It didn't decapitate. They're learning. They're learning that not every blow has to decapitate. If only Berserker had been so smart. This is a really decent execution. I actually really like it. I just think that kick is so lopsided and unnecessary. Everything else was good. Actually, you know what would have been cool? Instead of doing that weird kick, what if after the punch, Orochi kicked out the knee? Look. See that knee forward? What if Orochi just stepped forward and kicked the knee out from under it? That would have been a better idea. But now we got that really weird kick, which brings it from a 10 out of 10 to a 9 out of 10. But still, really cool, very awesome. Give some respect to Orochi, and thank you for not decapitating. Excellent. Next we have Shugoki with Nebari o Kakaru.
To your knees. Be judged. None who live can survive the flame.
That is so smooth like silk. Oh, that was excellent. This is the execution I wanted to see from Shugoki, and I'll explain why. This is proper Kanabo technique. One of the problems I always had with Shugoki is he just kind of swings his Kanabo like a wrecking ball. He doesn't use it as the proper Kanabo should be. A Kanabo uses centrifugal force to build and create momentum with the Kanabo swings. You hit, but then you keep the spinning going. You keep spinning. Like, notice how he hits the leg, but then keeps spinning and then brings it down. That's how you should use a Kanabo. That is the proper Kanabo technique, and it looks phenomenal. But not only does he bring it down like that, he knocks out the leg. Boom. He brings it down, and then watch what he does. At first, I thought that he was just torturing them, but then I realized what he was doing with this kind of back and forth seesaw motion. He wasn't just torturing them, which probably really, really hurt. But that's not all he was doing. He was building momentum to pull it back into his own hand, kind of like, and lift. That was so good. It felt real. It felt like there was weight behind both the Kanabo and the person who was hit. We didn't have to see a decapitation to make it look good. This was a great execution from Shugoki. Fluid and powerful all the way through. It's a 10 out of 10. This is a great execution. Very much what I want from the Fat Man. This was a wonderful execution. Next up, we have Nobushi with Momuji no Uchi. Oh, it's so gorgeous. If you guys watched my live stream reacting to the season, you saw that I went ahead and got this for her because it was one of my favorites that I'd seen from her so far. Let's break it all down. So initially a hack to the side of the neck, knees the shaft out. She knees the shaft out, and then after that uses that momentum to swing it back around and through the other side of the head. And believe it or not, I'll actually give this decapitation a pass, because the first strike cuts halfway through the neck, starting the kill. Then strikes the other side so that it finishes the hack. Probably shouldn't have come out that clean, but still worked very well. And notice that she followed through. Dropped down to one knee and placed a hand on the ground to follow through on that. It was savage. It was glorious. Done wonderfully well. I love the way she used the knee to get the shaft out. That was so awesome. Ah, Nobushi, this was beautiful, just like you. Excellently done. This is a 10 out of 10. This is absolutely a 10 out of 10. I love it. Next up, we have Shinobi with Seka no Atari. Okay. First of all, the obvious thing, that decapitation. I never liked decapitations with the Kusarigama because I don't see the Kama as being very good at decapitating that easily. The lunging and flying forward helps with it, but it's still unbelievable to me. But that's not the only problem here. Okay, so the ninja throws the first Kusarigama in, yanks it out just to throw a second one, and then uses the second one to launch them forward. If the whole goal of this execution was to use the pull of the Kusarigama to launch them forward for the decapitation, why did you throw the first one just to pull it out? That's a lot of wasted energy and time. I mean, see, throw, yank out to do the second one, and then decapitate. Why not just decapitate with the first one? Why waste the time of doing it twice? I mean, you can't argue, oh, it's to make sure that he got the kill. You're going for a decapitation. How is that not a kill? I'm sorry, this one doesn't make sense. Yeah, I'm gonna have to give this a 5 out of 10. I mean, it's deadly. It'll kill. But why the extra unnecessary strike from the Kusarigama and then a kind of unbelievable decapitation? I don't understand that. Oh well, still kind of cool. Next up, from Aramusha, we have Ryo Sui no Uchi. Alright, we got a lot of steps here. Let's break them down. So first, throws into the foot. Then cut across the throat. Bop up with the hilt. And then do a double slash across the chest and the neck to decapitate. The foot strike doesn't bother me too much. I never like it when they disarm themselves, but hey, you know what? He's got 2 swords. He's good. So he throws a sword into the foot. Strike across the neck is good. Bop up to disorient. And then notice that he uses the reverse hand hold of his sword. Watch the sword he pulls up. He holds it in a reverse grip. I will never like that. I will never like the reverse grip. It is just unnecessary. But could it decapitate? Well, the initial strike did cut part of the neck, so just like with Nobushi, I'll believe it. I'll give it that one. But I think it's a lot of extra steps for something that wasn't needed. Like, for example, why did he need to hit the foot for a decapitation? Why didn't he just throw it at the foot and then decapitate with his other sword? You know, it feels like a lot of extra work for something that only required 1 blow. But still, it is cool. It's savage. You can't deny that. So I will give it an 8 out of 10. It's pretty dang cool. Aramusha really owning this guy. Next, Hitokiri with Makura o Sayaru. Oh, brutal. I love it. Okay, so strike to the chest, torso, and knee. All of that's meant to do one thing: bring them down to the ground and onto their knee. It did its job perfectly. It was an excellent setup to the Warden being on the ground. Then holds their chin with the axe, twists the axe, puts it on the ground, and then kicks them into the axe head. Now, all of that would be fine, except there's one thing y'all probably didn't notice. The kick she uses is an axe kick. Yes, she used an axe kick to kick his head into an axe. It's just... oh, it's too good not to notice. Just that alone could bump this up by several points. But it was already so good to begin with. I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. This is a great execution. The strike into the face is definitely deadly because it's going to be hitting the brain matter. And the way that she sets him up is really, really good. Shot to the chest, belly, knee, hold chin, lay down, axe kick into the blade, kick off. Excellent work. This is a very good execution from Hitokiri. And now the one we've all been waiting for, Kyoshin with Relentless Windstorm. Oh, that was so good. Okay, if you'll remember when I initially graded Kyoshin's executions, I gave one an absolute F tier. It was just completely trash. This is the opposite entirely. It's fast, it's smooth, it's fluid. So first, we've got him sheathing the sword, striking the head. Then, while the blade is still in the sheath, striking the chin, following up with that momentum by spinning and kicking out their leg, yanking out the sword and slamming it down into their head while they're down, then quickly resheathing it. Only problem, again, he's not cleaning the sword. He needs to clean it. But still, considering how bad the execution he used to have was, this one's just so good. I wish he'd clean that sword, though. So we're going to give this one a 9 out of 10. Perfectly done. Just clean the sword next time. And I would, if you just clean that sword, I would have given it a 10 out of 10. And you might be thinking, why do you care about him cleaning the sword? This is the only time you seem to care about that. I care about it here because Kyoshin is using a scabbard. If he wasn't using a scabbard and he just had his weapon open like all the other heroes, it wouldn't be an issue. But because he uses a scabbard, which is cool, I like his scabbard. I think it's a cool addition. Then that means there needs to be some blade maintenance. You don't want to fill your scabbard with gunk and blood. You want to keep your sword clean. So if he just cleans his sword after his execution, I'll be fine with it. But everything else about this, solid, awesome, fluid. Excellent work. Great Kyoshin execution. Alright, moving on to the last faction, we have the Wulin, and starting us off is Tiandi with Fang Closa. Oh my lord, I love it. I actually had to try to test this one out. I had to go through the motions to see how it would work. It is solid. This is such a good execution. Okay, so goes outside of the punch to block it. I like that first part. She brings up her hand to block and hold the punch out of her range. Then moves back inside his guard to use her free hand to strike the chin. By striking the chin, she then puts her leg behind his to add leverage, and then brings her hand down over the torso to flip him. Watch carefully. Then does a spinning butterfly jump over the body, and then brings the Dao sword up for a decapitate. Everything about this, other than the decapitation, is glorious. This is such a stunning show of force, show of elegance, and show of martial prowess. Everything from the takedown alone amazed me. This was so good. I think my only problem is, again, the decapitation. Look at the ease at which she does it. I think the decapitation happened just a little too easily. So, for that reason, and that reason alone, it is a 9 out of 10. But other than that, know that I wanted to give this a 10 out of 10. Just for that takedown, if nothing else. This was such a good execution. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I had to get it as soon as I saw it. Tiandi, you did great here. Wonderful execution. Next up, we have Nuxia with Han Zitian. Okay, very stylish, very graceful. I like it. Okay, so the one problem I see is this part. She stabbed the hook sword into the chest, but then watch carefully. When does she pull it out? It came out very fast, didn't it? Now, you might be thinking, oh, come on, Raven. Are you saying that she can't pull it out fast? It's just a stab wound. Yeah, but look where the blade ends up. It goes from being stuck in his chest to hooking his shoulder. Watch the blade. She yanks it out and then hooks his shoulder that quickly, and almost as if it was stuck in his shoulder to begin with. How many frames was that between the switch? I don't know. Maybe I'm overly analyzing that. It still looks great. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. I think it's amazing other than that one thing, because I think that she might have pulled that out a little too fast. Still, looks phenomenal. I think what would have been better here is if she stabbed and then before flipping him, pulled out the jabbing end of the blade and hooked his shoulders. Still looks phenomenal. Still looks excellent. I love it. Next up, Jiang Jun with Fei Lian.
It's a deep! It is out of here!
Wow. Alright, let me tell you what I love about this execution, because there is a lot to love. Notice the rotation of the Guandao. And then notice that he reverses the rotation for the kill. So the first strike knocks down the hand and then cuts the elbow. Then he walks back in to strike the head. And now watch what he does with his ankles and his hips when he finishes. He twists them. He puts all of his force into the twist. This is absolutely phenomenal. And here's the amazing thing. I know he decapitates, and usually I'd get on you about that, but the Guandao can decapitate. And I like the position the Warden's body is in as he's getting up. He's been struck, cut the elbow, trying to get up, and then takes off his head. Now, notice that he was getting up after his elbow was just chopped. That adds more credence to what I said earlier about Warden when he had his hands cut. You know, you take a cut, but then you get back up, you know? Here, he's starting to get back up, and then, well, JJ finishes him off. But it's believable. It's sick. I love it. This is a 10 out of 10. Love the execution. Very stylish, very powerful, very much what I wanted to see out of a JJ. Next up is Shaolin with Fangbo. As always with Shaolin, the issue is an issue of lethality. As cool, stylish, and martially awesome as this move is, I can't say with certainty it would kill. Definitely it would cause concussions. Definitely it might fracture the skull. But would it kill instantly? I can't say it would for certain. It could, but I can't be sure. It's stylish. It's very cool. It's a lot of flashy moves, and that's what Shaolin's all about. But for an execution, we need to make sure it kills, and I'm afraid I just don't know if this would. Much like a Disney princess.
I want more.
I want to see some more from this. Maybe a flurry of strikes. Maybe multiple blows to the head with just each individual end of the staff, you know? Pull a Darth Maul on it, you know? But it looks cool. It is nice. We'll give it a 7 out of 10. We'll be very nice and assume that he fractured the skull and he's dying, okay? I'll be... With Shaolin, you have to be a little lenient because his weapon isn't coming into this with a deadly proficiency. It's a stick. A cool stick, but a stick. Still very well done. Very nice, very stylish. I love this bit with the leg. That's so good. But I can't say it's lethal. And last but not least, Zhan Hu with Tiefeng. That was incredibly fast. Okay. I actually like this. The impalement is good. I really like how far back it went. What gets me is then she turns around and uses her shoulder as leverage to yank it out through the enemy's shoulder. This would cut through some ribs and shoulder blade, and that's a lot of resistance. I'm surprised how easy it came out. And considering how stylish a lot of the other executions was, this one's kind of anticlimactic, actually. I was kind of expecting something a lot more. It's still really good, though, and it is deadly. It would kill, so can't hate on it. Let's see it from another perspective. Yeah, I love that. I think that's really cool. I think a 9 out of 10 is fair for this one. It is definitely deadly. I think the only part I don't quite buy is considering where she places it and what it has to go through to cut out like that. It has to cut through ribs. It has to cut through the shoulder blades, all kinds of sinew and internal organs. It's a lot to cut through. But if it can cut through that, it's deadly. That would kill. Probably instantly. So very, very good. I really like this one.
And that about wraps it up, guys. Well, I'm sorry it took so long. This has been one of my longest videos yet that wasn't a live stream. But I really had a lot to go through, and I really wanted to break down piece by piece what I loved and didn't like about each execution. Now, just a few closing remarks I want to make. First of all, if you're one of those people who comment saying, dude, you grade these too harshly, or you need to consider that the person is already dying before you even get to the execution, so stop talking about whether or not it would actually kill. Look, there's a difference between a takedown and an execution. With a takedown in the game, you can get healed and get back up, which means it's not necessarily deadly. You're just out of the fight until someone heals you or you respawn. If you get executed, you can't get healed, which implies you're dead. Okay, so that's why I look at it that way. Please don't comment here saying, "Oh, dude, you're overanalyzing everything. They'd be dead anyway." All that kind of stuff. I don't care. This is what I like to do. I study these kind of things very closely, and I make sure that I try to be as close to accurate as I possibly can be when analyzing these executions. And I know that I went way deep into it. I'm sorry again that it was so long, but I appreciate you guys for sticking through it all the way. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Please leave a comment down below with your thoughts. What do you think of these executions? Which ones are your favorites? Which ones are you going to be throwing steel at right away? Because I know which ones I got right away. Tiandi was one of them. Nobushi was one of them. Lawbringer was one of them. These were ones that I said I'm getting as soon as I saw them. They were just all so awesome. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in my next one. Take care.